Okay, what I got on the go this time, I bought this Oriental ARF. It turned out to be another turd. Why I say that is the fuselage. I started a video on this already. The fuselage, its back had a bit of a bow in it. I tried to work around it. I decided to convert it to electric. I was underway and I started messing. I was almost to the point where I was going to put the fuselage on the wing and everything was crooked, and I just said the hell with it. Threw the thing out. As you can see, I already put the magnets and everything on for a hatch, and turned into be a bit of a disaster. So what I ended up doing is I have this kit for the Oriental as well. So I traced out the fuselage parts, which I'm already underway. Because all this is covered in saran wrap, I decided I'll just keep going with the electric idea, because I did buy a bunch of conversion kits from Brodak. Now, the kits seem to be okay with these ARFs, man. I don't know. But this is an early one, although I haven't had much luck with the later ones. So this one wasn't too bad. This Ringmaster ARF. That one turned out to be pretty good. There was a slight bow in the fuse, but at least it was in the right direction for line tension. So anyway, like I said, I drew it out. I got this conversion kit, and it's what do they call it? The Universal A for 2-inch inside fuselages. And following the instructions, I'll tell you, I read them about 5 or 6 times before I started sorting. When you do this, you laminate the F1A, which I'm using on the outside, I'm assuming, and B is on the inside. You got to measure how far down your battery's going to be. So on this one, it's 2 inches, and you're not going to get much more than that, as you can see. So I glued it on. I ended up having to trim it off, but on the B, mark this, and I went ahead on the 3/4 of an inch, I believe. Yeah, had to move the firewall ahead 3/4 of an inch because I used the motor to get my clearance. Nip that off to where that line is for your battery tray. That's where the bottom of your tray is going to be. So you get the step for the thing to glue into. Same at the top. The instructions are quite clear with the top, because you get these 2 rails and they're going to fit in there. Yep. It says top rail. Everything's marked except for this one, so that's why I'm assuming that's 2B. I damn near glued it to this, not what I made for some hateful language, but I wasn't sure, so I didn't glue it. In the end, it turned out it was right. Okay, here's where we are with this turd polish. It's an extreme turd polish. So far, you get these rails that come in the conversion kit, Brodak conversion kit. I glued those on to go on the top of the fuselage, hopefully. If they don't, I had a problem. The laminated firewall is in place. Okay, I glued that on, so that should be good. And before I did that, I'm using an E-Flight 15 here. I drilled the holes and put my blind nuts on. As you can see, they have a nice laser etched firewall, so you pretty good guide. And for the E-Flight motor, they're pretty much bang on. So that's done. They're mentioning something about filler blocks and all this crap. The instructions I find are hard to follow, but then again, I've never done this before. So these are just parts traced from my Oriental kit. So And I didn't cut these out, so I'm starting to look like that might be a good thing. This is the bottom, of course. So we got that on, and that glue is drying. I guess my next step is to put the floor plate in, which isn't going to fit the battery tray. So I'll trim that down equally on either end. They're marked inboard and outboard, till it fits within this box here. See how we make out with that. Okay, I trimmed both ends of the battery tray and cut her nice and even. Of course I got everything marked out for my bulkheads. And I trimmed that down to fit inside. I'm not stretching the airplane to fit the parts. I'm making the parts fit the airplane. Trays in. Seems to fit right. They get inboard and outboard marked on them. So that's I just wrote outboard here, so I'm not trying to think about it all the time. Turns out that's inboard. I'm sorry. Ah, damn it! I got the tray in backwards. Oh well, I don't think it matters that much. I would say that is outboard to get the battery up against the wall further. So I got a little boo-boo there. No, well, not going to end the world, I guess, but note to self. I wrote inboard here, and I still managed to glue the outboard to the inboard. Oh well. Looks like it makes about 1/8 of an inch difference. C'est la vie. Anyway, that's on. Not quite right, but it's on there. I don't think anybody will notice. And next step is to put the F2 on. That's not laser marked, but after reading ahead, and I determined that unmarked bulkhead is F2. So I'll stick that in. Try not to screw it up. Okay, get the two sides glued together. All I did was I laid her down. Probably should have videoed it, but I'm getting kind of scooting right along here. So I just laid her down. I put the CA. I'm just using CA, not epoxy or anything on. It's electric. Vibes aren't there. One of my red CA's just strong. So I glued these down. I got this slow drying thick shit that works good. So I put the glue on there, ran a bead across the battery box, of course. And before it had a chance to set, I got on it with the triangle at the bulkheads, just to make sure everything was up to snuff. Of course, I got down to towards the tail here. Just make sure everything's nice and square. And it is. And also notice that off just a smidgen somehow on the... Oh, maybe not. Oh, she's good actually. Good. So, I got lots of scrap balsa, so I just took two 1/2-inch pieces. 3 1/4 inches wide. And lighting's terrible here. And glued them in. Hogged it out so that the motor has clearance, and got those in before I glued the two sides together. Yep. So next I guess I'll shape in this and see if I can find a spinner, 2-inch spinner, and get the ring on. I think I'm going to leave an air inlet on the bottom too, because there's no, with the nose configuration, there's not going to be much room for air to get in. I'll just make a scoop. Okay, using the plans of the kit, lined up the fuselage. I mean, you could do the same by drawing a center line on your bulkheads and drawing a nice straight line down your bench or piece of paper, lining everything up. I use a square to make sure I'm on the spot. The plans at least has a stab here, so I just centered it up through that. Once I get it lined up, I just hit it with some thin CA glue That'll hold that in place good enough for me to get my bulkheads in, which is my next step. And just traced them out on some balsa. And again, went out of my way to make sure they're good and square. Now the way these are done, they just got a little hole in there to for your push rod. I'm going to run a couple of pieces of 1/8 across here to grain just to give that a little extra beef, and I'm going to cut the whole center out. It'll be a little lighter, probably a lot stronger. I won't have to be tooling around trying to slip the wing in and getting the push rod through that tiny little hole. That does not look like a good time to me.